Prime Minister, the Ukraine-Russia war has been raging for 1,000 days. Ukraine wants to end the war. Russia confirms 6 long-range US missiles have now been fired into their territory. Is this a game changer? And have you discussed ending this war with Donald Trump?
Well, you're absolutely right. It's day 1,000 of this conflict. That's 1,000 days of Russian aggression, 1,000 days of sacrifice by Ukraine. It's impacted the rest of the world, including the United Kingdom. I've been clear throughout those 1,000 days that we must give the Ukraine the support that is needed for as long as it's needed. That's something I've doubled down on here at G20 and in recent weeks. The simplest way to end this conflict is for Russia to stop the aggression.
And the missiles are game changer.
Well, I'm not going to comment.
It's been confirmed. It's been confirmed by Russia that they have landed in their territory.
Beth, you will understand. I'm not going to comment on operational details.
In principle, are the missiles a game changer? In principle.
The reason that I'm not going to comment is, I think, well understood, which is Putin is the winner if we do so, and it will undermine Ukraine, and I'm not prepared to do that.
Just quickly, Russia's also threatened nuclear escalation. Are you comfortable with that when people at home are watching this, worrying that you could put us at risk?
Well, it's very important. It's very important that we're steadfast in our support for Ukraine. Russia is the aggressor,
even if
Russia,
it unleashes nuclear war.
Russia has to be the one that makes the move to stop this war. It's within their gift, but we must support Ukraine. It's impacting not just Ukraine; it's impacting the rest of the world, including the UK.
Is your message to viewers back home that there will not be a nuclear war, because that is what Russia is threatening?
My message is that we need to ensure that Ukraine is put in the best possible position. This is 1,000 days of conflict, and there is a very high cost if Russian aggression is seen to pay off, a cost that we will all pay, because this is not just about sovereignty in Ukraine. It's about our freedoms, it's about our way of life, and it impacts everybody across the United Kingdom.
Prime Minister,
we are working, of course, with allies to make sure Ukraine is in the best possible position.
Prime Minister, your budget's backfiring back home. Over 15,000 farmers descending on London angry at inheritance tax changes. You insist the tax only hits landowning couples once the 3 million threshold is hit. You think wealthy landowners need to pay more tax?
Well, I want to support farming. It's very important that we do so, and that's why in the budget we put down £5 billion over the next 2 years into farming, into food sustainability. That's the biggest sum of money that's ever been put into farming.
Landowners should pay more tax?
So far as inheritance tax is concerned, in a typical case, as you rightly say,
I've said 3 million
which is
quid.
a family wanting to pass on to one of their children, so a classic case, that's a £3 million
But you think
threshold.
Wealthy landowners should pay more tax?
Meeting the concern of the farmers, what I would say, and this is important, the vast majority, therefore, will be unaffected by this. Where people are over that threshold, that's a small number of cases, the tax is 20%, so half of what everybody else pays, and it's payable over 10 years. But I would also just add this, which is...
Do you think they should pay more tax?
Let me just add this, because I do think it's important. I grew up, obviously, in a rural area, and I know that in rural areas, in farming communities, they need good hospitals, they need good schools, and they need houses that people can afford. And that's what we invest in the budget.
So you think wealthy landowners need to pay more for public services? That's where you're at?
Well, over the £3 million threshold, then that's where we've said the balance is right to start paying at that lower rate of 20%.
In your tax decisions, you've targeted people who send their kids to private schools, people who earn income from assets, landowners, small business owners. There's a pattern here. Is it a class war for you?
No, absolutely not.
It's not a class war?
No, it's not. And let me just take one of those examples, which is the VAT on private schools. I do know that people watching this will save hard to send their child to a private school because they think that's the best thing for their child. But every single parent wants opportunity and aspiration for their child. And up until now, we haven't had the right number of teachers in basic subjects like maths, etc., in our state secondary schools. I'm not prepared to tolerate that for our state schools.
What's your message to wealthy people who thinks you are waging a class war against them? What's your message to them? Because that's how some people feel.
It isn't at all what we're doing. It's a balanced approach. We had to fill a black hole which was left by the last government. We had to make sure we stabilised our economy. And we've invested, and I think the vast majority of people know that we had to invest in our NHS, which was broken, in our schools to make sure every single child can go as far as their talent will take them, and in housing so that people can have a safe and secure roof over their head that they can afford, a sort of base camp for their dreams.
You've repeatedly said raising economic growth is your number one priority, yet in the first 3 months of your government, the economy's barely grown and it actually contracted in September. You must be pretty gutted by that.
Well, I want those figures to improve.
They're not good enough, are they?
They're not good enough, and I want them to improve. I think the best way of turbocharging that is to get the inward investment into our country. And I'm really pleased that our investment summit brought in £63 billion. That's measured in jobs in different parts of the country. But do we want that to improve? Do I want those figures to improve? Yes, of course I do.
OK, Prime Minister, just quickly, in 2015 you supported the Assist in Dying bill. Do you feel torn on it now?
Look, I do know that there are very strong feelings on this, which is why I've been clear it's a free vote and MPs must decide for themselves. I prosecuted and looked at every single case over 5 years, every investigation. I know it's deeply held, and this is not a party political issue. MPs will have to decide for themselves.
Your Health Secretary ordered a review into the potential implications for NHS services. This isn't about money, though, is it? It's not about money, this decision, is it?
This is about a deeply held belief on sort of both sides of the argument, if you like. When I was Chief Prosecutor, we did the biggest consultation ever in criminal justice, and I saw for myself how important it is.
So why is your Health Secretary turning it into an argument about money, and should he be doing that?
Look, I don't think pressure should be put on MPs about how they vote.
So you don't think he should have done that?
I think we need to stay neutral. I'm not going to talk about individual members of the Cabinet.
Have you spoken to him about it?
I've spoken to all of the Cabinet all of the time.
Including West Streeting?
Look, I talk to the Cabinet all of the time, as you'd expect. But the most important thing is when that vote comes up, MPs know that it's a free vote, it's not party political, and I will respect whatever way people vote because I do understand just how deeply felt it is.
OK, Prime Minister, last question. You're 4 months into your premiership. You want to make a lasting mark. When you think of consequential Prime Ministers, you've got Attlee, who was the welfare state, Thatcher, who was all about enterprise, Blair, who was about modernisation. What's the essence of you in one word?
I want working people to be better off. I want people to feel the impact of our policies in their pocket so that they can enjoy life in the way that they want to with themselves and their family. The basic securities that working people want. A decent wage that provides for them and their family. Education allows their children to go as far as their talent will take them. A health service that's there when they need it. But in a nutshell, it's about making working people feel better off. And I'm determined that that will remain my focus.
A working people warrior?
Yes, I want working people to be better off, and I make no apologies for that.